Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative. Yeah, on Cities 92.9, the news and talk to normal. So, I do appreciate you tuning in this morning. So much to get to today. I do want to get to the Chicago woke mayor proudly saying that he only hires Black people. Yes, Mayor Brandon Johnson said that out loud. And now Donald Trump's DOJ, the Department of Justice, they're going to drag him into court for discrimination, rightfully so. Joy Reid, she goes off on on yet another anti-Trump tirade, calling him a fascist. And let me check my notes here. Oh, she's calling him a fascist because he's enforcing federal immigration laws that are already on the books. So we're going to get to that. And then a little bit later, we are going to get to the shrieking squad on The View with a straight face. They all said that Joe Biden would never, ever hide his cancer diagnosis. So we're going to get into all of that. Yeah, sure, Karen, sure. Yeah, no, Joe Biden he'd never hide his cancer diagnosis from us. So the American people, by the way, that's what I mean by us. You can have cancer, be a garbage human being. Those things can be all true. And you can lie to the American people about you having cancer, and people need to be drug up in front of a committee and answer questions. I'm sorry. But let's get into Mayor Brandon Johnson first. He makes hiring decisions based solely off race. However, it turns out that's not exactly what you would call legal, because there's a little something called equal protection under the law. Thus, the DOJ has announced that they have begun an investigation into these claims, that he solely hires people based off race, and claims, not really claims, he admits it out loud right here. Let's take a listen to it.
Some detractors that will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of Black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor, is a Black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a Black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a Black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a Black man. Budget director is a Black woman. Senior advisor is a Black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask, how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business?
Okay, so that was Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago. The DOJ, they've opened up an investigation into the city of Chicago after the woke mayor Brandon Johnson said that he hires more Black people in his administration because they have better character compared to other races, ... question mark. What is it called when someone believes a certain skin color is superior to another? That would be a raging racist. Yes, you'd be correct. Thank you for answering my question, because I'm pretty sure if the shoe fits, it fits. Mayor Brandon Johnson, why can't these people just agree that skin color means absolutely nothing and leave it at that? It's an insignificant birth trait, according to the post-millennial Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon, wrote a letter to Johnson that the probe was open to investigate possible violations to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The violations, that's what these claims. They're not claims. He said it out loud with his mouth. These admissions allegedly are in violation of the Civil Rights Act. Quote, our investigation is based on information suggesting that you made hiring decisions solely on the basis of race. In your remarks at the epistolic Church of God in Woodlawn, Illinois. You highlighted the number of Black officials in your administration, and he gave multiple high ranking positions to people who were Black men, and Black women solely because of their race. Again, I'm no legal expert. I can't really speak to the law because I'm not a legal expert, but I do know there's a little something called equality under the law. You can't hire on the basis of race. You're a raging racist, Brandon Johnson. And I'm also certain that there are certain rights people have when it comes to the government discriminating against skin color. But people like Brandon Johnson, they don't care about any of that. The left prides themselves on racist practices so long as it's politically correct. And while these are the same people hissy fit, they would have a hissy fit. They'd be screaming at the sky, their faces would turn red. They would have a hissy fit if the roles were reversed. And a white mayor said something like this. Could you imagine? They hold themselves to the highest of double standards. I say it all the time. The left doesn't have standards, they have double standards. But unfortunately for him, that caused the DOJ, his comments, his admissions here, to investigate the city solely because he admits to these blatantly evil practices. Switching gears, Joy Reid, she says a lot of stupid things. I wouldn't say Joy Reid strikes me as smart. She's a lot of things, but she's not smart. And somebody only objectively stupid could equate federal immigration enforcement and enforcing federal immigration laws to, quote, snatching people up off the street, throwing them into gray vans, and disappearing them from the country. That's what she's saying Donald Trump's administration is doing and ICE agents are doing. They're snatching up these people and disappearing them from the country and sending them to gulags because of their skin color or their ideology. Let's take a listen to Joy Reid here. Here we go.
People on the right will say, well, why does he have to mix politics into his music? Just shut up and sing. Why does he have to go into politics? Seriously. Real talk, snatching people off of the street and throwing them into gray vans and disappearing them across the country so that you can find a way to ship them out of the country to gulags in El Salvador or in Equatorial Guinea or Syria because you don't like their color or their ideology or things that they've written or op-eds they've written. That's not politics. Having masked agents accosting people on the street and barging into restaurant kitchens to grab brown people while you at the same time are throwing open the doors very deliberately to white South Africans lying and claiming they're being persecuted and endangered in the country that they came from, that their forebears colonized, and having that be your unironic policy while you're in the Supreme Court right now trying to argue that you can end birthright citizenship, which is in the Constitution,
Nope.
that you can eradicate that for the brown migrants you don't like, even though Donald Trump's favorite country, Russia, sends a whole lot of birth tourists to Florida to have babies in that state. And they're fans of his. And sometimes hang out at his properties while they're waiting to give birth to the American citizens they're creating. That's not politics. Banning books, not politics. Stripping Black history from every federal website and program, and stripping women's history and LGBTQ history, and making Black, brown women, any people who are not white men disappear. That's not politics. These things are not politics. This is something other than politics. It's something deeper and more frightening than politics. If it was just politics, Donald Trump would just have a different tax rate idea than Democrats. He would just have a different governing idea than Democrats. This is not a different governing idea. Project 2025 is not politics. It is a wholesale takeover of the country by a fascist ideology that is attempting to raise white Christian men, white conservative Christian men, to be specific, to a higher tier than every other kind of person, and to push out as many brown people as possible.
All right, that's enough of Joyless Reid. So it's unclear if she believes the lies or if she's just that painfully stupid, but both are possibly true. Firstly, these are targeted deportations. ICE does not kidnap people off of the streets, and the fact that anyone thinks that's true, we should bar them from ever being able to vote, considering that is just dumb. There is no evidence to suggest that ICE is kidnapping people off of the street and shoving them into gray vans without any sort of deportation order. These are targeted deportations. Typically, these are criminal aliens, which means that on top of entering the country illegally through an illegal port of entry, they also committed more crimes like murderers, pedophiles, sex predators. Nonetheless, you've got to be totally bonkers to claim all of the things that she claimed. Second, an illegal alien is not a race, it's not a nationality. They're targeted people who entered the country illegally and then also committed crimes on top of that. That's what they're working on right now. Some people are being deported for breaking federal immigration laws. Maybe they didn't commit murder. They've entered that phase of the deportation process now. But these are very specific cases that we can point to. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he was a cop. Cops thought that he was a human trafficker. His own wife called him a wife beater. Admitted on tape that he'd beat her. He had an order of protection out against him. His own wife did. Nonetheless, you got to be totally bonkers to claim everything that you did. And in these specific cases, she's crying about these people have committed crimes. She's talking about people being snatched up and deported to the El Salvador prisons, to these gulags. The guy was from El Salvador, so he was shipped back to El Salvador. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. There's no evidence that ICE is going into kitchens of restaurants and snatching brown and black people. She didn't provide any evidence of that. And I don't think she ever will. The only racist is her. She despises Donald Trump actually loathes Donald Trump for bringing persecuted South Africans. They were white South Africans, and they were persecuted and killed in some cases, and their houses were burned down in this country because they were white. So they were granted asylum, and she's upset by that. The only racist is her, and if she had a tiny little bit of a brain, she'd realize that none of this is really about race at all, and that Donald Trump is just deporting people who have illegally crossed the border. She's all over the place here. She also she couldn't help but bring up Russia into this, which doesn't have anything to do with anything as far as federal immigration enforcement. Nonetheless, listening to her, I actually think I lost some brain cells. I'm not going to lie. Nothing she says was based in evidence, logic, and facts. So I've got to take a quick break. She actually brought up Project 2025. Hillary Clinton brought this up as well. They'll call you conspiracy theorists, replacement theory, but they want to actually have immigrants replace the population. I'm not kidding you. They admit this out loud. Hillary Clinton, there's a clip I'll get to a little bit later in the show, but they say Project 2025. Yes, we should be encouraging people to have children in America, Americans to have children. Yes, we should be encouraging pro-family policies, having one person in the household, one person who works a single family or single income household. We should be promoting these things. Most people you poll, they probably would say, yeah, I would prefer not to raise my children in the school system, or yes, I would prefer to raise my own children. And I would love to have a single income household. Most people would say that. We should be promoting that stuff. Hillary Clinton, I'm going to get to this, but she brought up Project 2025. Hillary Clinton did that too. It's been debunked 50 million different times. But this Joy Reid, I didn't think that she'd beat my ex. She's beating everybody's expectations here on how stupid she is. And the whole reason, this, of course, is politics. She kept repeating this claim. This is not politics. This is not politics. You're bashing Donald Trump as Hitler. Of course, this is politics. This is the reason why the left lost the election in 2024. All right, I got to take a quick break here, listening conservative cat. AKA Joyless Reid. Yeah, we've got so much to get to this morning. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to come right back and we're going to be talking a little bit about, Joyless Reid. Want to play that clip this morning. We could play the rest of it. It's just, it drives me absolutely bonkers. I had to get rid of it. I'd get rid of the clip. I mean, she goes on for 4 minutes and it's this anti-Trump tirade calling him a fascist. And she's all over the place here. She brought up Russia, which I didn't really quite understand. I do want to play this clip of Hillary Clinton where she talks about how Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, and she's like, well, Donald Trump, he says that he's not a part of that, but everything that is in the 2025 Project 2025 is coming to fruition or whatever. Number one, yeah, because Donald Trump is conservative. The Heritage Foundation is conservative. They're going to align on a lot of the same policies. This was a wish list of a conservative type think tank. Of course, Donald Trump is probably going to do a lot of what these conservatives want. It shouldn't shock you that a lot of policies are in line with what Project 2025 has in it. Not everything in Project 2025. And not to mention, they have made Project 2025 into a boogeyman, which I think is hilarious because it's like, wait a second. A lot of this stuff is needed. They were like, oh, you're cutting the National Weather Service. Actually, what the Heritage Foundation calls for is just the cutting of the administrative bloat. So that way you can pay the people on the ground, the weather trackers, the people who are actually doing the work, so you can pay them more so they stay because they have a problem with retention in those types of jobs because they're really tough jobs. And when you have these administrative bloat where their bosses essentially are getting paid hundreds of $1,000s a year, then you're going to have problems with retention. So Project 2025, there's a lot of good stuff in it. Donald Trump is not following this play by play, but a lot of it is going to align with his policies because conservatives made it and he is also conservative. So we're going to play this. This is Hillary Clinton. You're going to get a kick out of this. She says this is what illegal immigrants are for. And she thinks it's performative that Donald Trump is calling for Americans to have children. And she says, really, that's what illegal immigrants are for. These people hate you. They want to replace you. They call you a conspiracy theorist for talking about the replacement theory. But here she is actually admitting out loud with her mouth that that is the goal. That is what's going on. And she's pro that and not pro Americans having children. And she'd rather immigrants, illegal immigrants, undocumented. She even admits this in the tape, undocumented and naturalized. She would rather have immigrants come to the country and have more children than the Americans. And this is discussing and really believe them the first time when they tell you who they are. Then we're going to get to Joe Biden and the Harpies on the View, these squad on the View. They're going to talk about Joe Biden. Not possibly. There's no way that Joe Biden would lie about his diagnosis to the American people, according to the ladies on the View. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to get to Hillary Clinton here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Out Cities 92.9. Don't miss us at Jack's Cafe in Leroy today. There's two pancakes, 2 eggs, and a drink. Plus, there's also 2 biscuits and gravy, 2 eggs, and a drink for just $12 at Jack's Cafe in Leroy. I'm going to be there at 9 o'clock. You guys are going to want to come and register to try to win the Caribbean cruise. Big shout out to Dan Crafton with Bratcher Heating and Air. He was at the cruise stop yesterday at Running Errands, and it was great catching up with him and talking with him. I'd love to chat with you this morning at Jack's Cafe in Leroy from 9 to 11. I'll be there until 11, registering you for this cruise. It's a deluxe Caribbean cruise brought to you by Expedia Cruises. Big shout out to Greg from Expedia Cruises. He's great. You can register for the cruise, become a finalist during our cruise stops this spring. We're going to be taking entries and drawing 2 finalists to win a prize pack and to qualify for a spot at our grand prize giveaway at the Smash House Tavern in June. So you got to be 21 years of age to register, and we're drawing 2 finalists. Real quick, I want to get to Hillary Clinton here. You know how they say that you're a conspiracy theorist if you talk about the replacement theory, and really what the replacement theory is that they don't want Americans having children, and they'd rather replace the American population with undocumented and naturalized immigrants. They want to replace the American population with other nationalities. Here's Hillary Clinton admitting out loud with her mouth that's exactly the intention of the Democrat Party, and she's upset that Donald Trump is promoting Americans to have children and encouraging them to have.
As I posted the other day, this very blatant effort to basically send a message, most exemplified by Vance and Musk and others, that, what we really need from you women are more children.
Yes.
And what that really means is you should go back to doing what you were born to do, which is to produce more children.
Correct.
And they're talking about, cash benefits for the more children you have. This has been tried, by the way, in other countries, and it has not worked. Or medals if you have 6 children, while they're contemplating cutting Medicaid, while they have no interest in paid family leave or funding quality childcare. They're cutting Head Start. I mean, you go down the list of all the programs that support child rearing and the care of children and create, some safety net for women who are in the workforce, the formal workforce, as well as, raising children. So this is another performance about concerns they allegedly have for family life. But if you had read the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, despite Trump saying he knew nothing about it. If you had read it, it's all in there. It's all in there. Return to the family, the nuclear family, return to being a Christian nation.
All right, I got to take a quick break, but we're going to come back, unpack this. Hillary Clinton admitting out loud with her mouth that we don't need more children. Americans don't need to have more children because the illegal immigrants and undocumented immigrants, as she calls them, will do it for the American people. And this is called the replacement theory, and they called you a conspiracy theorist for talking about it. I'll be right back. Here's more of this clip. Here we go.
Return to, producing a lot of children, which is sort of odd because the people who produce the most children in our country are immigrants, and they want to deport them. So none of this adds up. But, one of the reasons why our economy did so much better than comparable advanced economies across the world is because we actually had a replenishment, because we had a lot of immigrants, legally and undocumented, who had a, larger than normal, by American standards, family. So this is just another one of their, make America great again by returning to the lifestyles and the economic arrangements of not just the 1950s. I mean, let's keep going back as far as we can and, see what happens.
So I don't know why she, says that this is such a bad thing, returning to the nuclear family. By no means implementing a state religion, but returning to a Christian set of morals in this country. I mean, our politicians, our president swears in on a holy Bible. I mean, to sit there and say that our nation was not built on Christianity and functions on Christianity is just an outright like, if you were to sit here and tell me to my face that America is not a Christian nation and shouldn't be a Christian nation, I'd laugh in your face because they had the Bible open when they were crafting the founding documents of this country. Our politicians swear in on a Bible, number one. I don't think it's bad. And most atheists, most other religions recognize that Christianity has really been instrumental in things like our hospital work. I mean, a lot of these hospitals are created by Christians, adoption agencies created by Christians. A lot of good things come out of the Christian faith, and even the atheist can see that. So she's really blowing my mind here, saying that returning to a Christian nation is a bad thing. Most atheists would agree that America, heck, Vivek Ramaswamy, as I said, he's Hindu, and Elon Musk he's a cultural Christian, but has professed to be an atheist, or doesn't believe in a higher power. They all agree that yes, America has to be a Judeo-Christian nation and follow Judeo-Christian principles and follow the Holy Bible, because that's moral. It's a set of morals that we've decided to go off of, and it's worked. And Hillary Clinton here, she's talking about women, and yes, it should be the goal that you would only need a single family or single income household. That is always the goal. But talk to women, and pull them in the workforce. Hey, if you could live off a single family, or women or men. And I'm not saying go back to 1950s where the woman is barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. By no means, right? I work. But what I'm saying is, if you were to ask women, hey, would you rather be with your kid? Think about this. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday. And maybe even sometimes on the weekends because they've got extracurriculars going on or whatever. You're not raising your kids. They are. And if you were to ask parents, hey, given the choice, given the option, if you were in an economically sound place to where you don't need the dual income household, would you go down to a single income household? If you were to poll people, there's been studies done on this. Yes, they would choose a single income household time after time and time after time if it was affordable. The only reason why people do dual income households now is because the Democrats have taxed you into oblivion to where it's almost impossible to survive on a single income household and to make it out there. Now, I do say this, stick it to them. Do it anyway. Cut down your expenses. You don't need the fancy car. You don't need the Netflix subscriptions. Do it anyway. Stick it to them. Create families. That's why Donald Trump is promoting having more children, doing child tax credits and raising the child tax credits. And he's encouraging Americans to have children because he understands that that's what's fulfilling. You know, having children. I'm sure you have children and you love them more than life itself, and you would do anything for them. When you talk to parents, that's their greatest accomplishment. And, you know, it's interesting whenever I talk to women in the workplace. Uh, whenever I talk to them, it's usually not, oh, I have this in my career, I did this, and that. It's usually, here's a picture of my kids. Did you know my kid's graduating this weekend? When you talk to women, the first thing, and it's really changed my life, somebody told me this a while ago, the first thing that they talk to you when you introduce like a brand new fresh person off the street at the grocery store, right? Women never lead a conversation about their careers. Never. I've never seen it in my life. And try this. Introduce yourself to, you know, a woman any age. The first thing that they're going to talk about is either their siblings, their parents, their family members. If they don't have children, an older woman, she'll talk about her grandkids. What Hillary Clinton is doing here is extremely concerning because if we can't agree that everybody would rather be on a single income household and everybody should be having children and we should be populating our country and having children, and that's an obligation. If we can't agree on that, we're screwed as the human race. Woo! Good morning. Hey, I'm going to be at Jack's Cafe in Leroy. They've got 2 eggs, 2 biscuits, and gravy, plus a drink, $12. You can't beat it. I'll be there from 9 to 11, registering you for a Caribbean cruise from Expedia Cruises. We're going to draw our first finalist within the first 30 minutes, so you got to get there early, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'd love to see you, chat with you, have a cup of coffee at Jack's. Their coffee is really bold. I've never had coffee as great, as great as Jack's. I don't know what they do to it, but I keep going back for more. It's really good. It's bold. It's so inexpensive too, Jack's Cafe. So before we took break, I was telling you a little about Hillary Clinton. I'm going to play a little bit more of this clip because she actually admits with her mouth the replacement theory. She would much rather illegal immigrants, undocumented, and naturalized immigrants, anybody of a different nationality, to come here and have children and replace the American population. That's what she wants. She quite literally says it out loud, and they called you a conspiracy theorist for raising the question, hey, is this the Democrat Party's motive? She says it out loud that that's what the Democrat Party wants, and that's what they're proponents of.
Care of children and create, some safety net for women who are in the workforce, the formal workforce, as well as, raising children. So this is another performance about concerns they allegedly have for family life. But if you had read the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, despite Trump saying he knew nothing about it, if you had read it, it's all in there. It's all in there. Return to the family, the nuclear family.
Good.
Return to being a Christian nation. Return to, producing a lot of children.
Great.
Which is sort of odd because the people who produce the most children in our country are immigrants and they want to deport them. So none of this adds up. But, one of the reasons why our economy did so much better than comparable advanced economies across the world is because we actually had a replenishment, because we had a lot of immigrants, legally and undocumented, who had a, larger than normal, by American standards, family. So this is just another one of their, make America great again by returning to the lifestyles and the economic arrangements of not just the 1950s. I mean, let's keep going back as far as we can. And
that's Hillary Clinton. And I don't know about you, but if you poll women, men, a lot of people would want a single income household. If you were to ask somebody today, a man and a wife, they've got a family. If you were to ask them today, if you could, would you go down to a single income household if it was financially possible? 9 times out of 10 people are going to tell you, hell yeah, of course. I would love to not send my kids 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Think about that, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day, the rest of their lives, Monday through Friday. They're raising your children for you. Head Start programs, it's just earlier. They get them earlier for Head Start programs. They get them at baby age. Quite literally, that's what newborns and up to 2-3 years old, they just want to throw them in public school right as soon as they come out of the womb, essentially. And if you ask and this has really changed my life, when I meet women out on the street, just perfect strangers, they never talk about their careers. It's really quite fascinating when, try this today, when you're talking with a woman, take note of what she talks about when she meets you. She won't talk about her career. She won't talk about her job. She won't talk about any of that. She's going to talk about if her kid's graduating over the weekend. She's going to talk about the way her toddler ran around the house and hit his head against the wall, and now she had to take him to the doctor. She'll tell you all day. She'll go on and on and on about her grandkids and about her kids. It's because that's what really makes women happy, is their families. And I'm not saying women specifically, but that should always be the goal, that you have a single income household and that somebody raises children. What's so wrong about that? What's wrong with these people? Yes, we're to populate our country. We're supposed to populate our country. Without that, it's the end of the human race. She's talking about illegal immigrants replenishing, Donald Trump sees the numbers. The numbers have gone down. Birth rates are at an all-time low for the American people. And Donald Trump sees this and he says, let's encourage people to have children. Let's encourage people to bring Christianity back to this country, because Christianity has brought so many great things, like hospitals, adoption agencies, all of it. So many great things have come out of the country being a Christian nation. All right, I gotta shift gears. Let's talk about The View. That wasn't even a part of the show today. I just saw this on Twitter yesterday, and I was like, I gotta share this with the listeners. Hillary Clinton, and she quite literally out loud admitted that she prefers the replacement theory, or prefers illegal immigrants coming to this country, having children, and you not having children. All right, let's get to The View. The View, the ladies on The View, nobody who just wakes up one day and has prostate cancer. Sorry, that's just not possible. And especially when you have the best doctors in the world, and you have more money than the average Americans could ever dream of. And Joe Biden, he always received these clean bills of health during his presidency, and that's rather odd considering he was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer months after leaving his first term. After serving his first term, he finished his first term, and just a couple of months later, he's diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And given that the left has hidden the fact that Joe Biden was a sleeping potato, he's just got a stutter, and they didn't actually report on anything, the mainstream media, it raises the suspicions of people that, hey, I think that they hid his diagnosis from the American people for months or possibly even years. And the ladies on The View, I guess, disagree. They said there's no way that he would have ever lied about his diagnosis or hid his diagnosis from the American people. And yeah, I'll just let you take a listen to this. Let people know.
What they're saying is, there are 3 ways they can treat it. His age will have a lot to do with how they do it. But I want to point out to people that had this been the case while he was president, there's no way you wouldn't have known.
Right.
Because he would have had to have these treatments. So this is not something he was carrying around or that he was hiding. And as Anna said, we know about his struggles. We know about his struggles, and now we know about this one. And I just, again, want to commend the people who cut their tongues off and said, get well soon, you know? And because I think that it did something for me.
And
It
the
made
people who
me.
didn't cut their tongues off, I have a place where they can put them.
Well, I'm not giving them any sun at all. That's why I'm not even mentioning them. That's why I'm saying the ones who did it, who were shocking. When you read the names, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you said something good. Oh my
A
God.
little empathy.
It turns out that you have a heart.
Mm-hmm.
So there is reason to have faith.
Yeah.
There is reason. We actually all are suffering together in many ways. So we're not alone. And that's a good thing. We'll be
Okay, so that was a portion of the clip that I wanted to share with you. There's another one. But yeah, they're saying that people don't have empathy. That there can be multiple things true at the same time. Joe Biden is a garbage human being and he has prostate cancer. I'm praying for a speedy recovery, of course. I'm not excited about him having prostate cancer. Nobody is. But what people are asking about is, hey, did he hide his treatments from the American people? Did they lie about his diagnosis? Let's take a listen to this clip. Here we go.
cut their tongues off and said, get well soon, you know? And because I think that it did something for me.
And the
It made
people who
me.
didn't cut their tongues off, I have a place where they can put them.
Okay, so that was. I thought that there was another one. I can't find it right now. But the point is, they're saying that you don't have empathy just because you're simply questioning the diagnosis and when he received this diagnosis, and did they lie to the American people about the clean bills of health that he received. We knew, they knew, but they called you a conspiracy theorist for mentioning anything about Joe Biden not being well. Nonetheless, we should know if he was getting treatments the entire time. We should have known that our former president was literally a potato. He took more vacations than anybody ever in really human history. It was insane how many vacations he was taking, and likely he was receiving treatment, I would say, during those vacations. According to Fox News, doctors say it's very highly unlikely anyone would suddenly be diagnosed with this advanced state of prostate cancer, especially one which, according to Biden's statement, has seeped into his bones. This is a really aggressive form of cancer. I hope he gets better. Nearly every man over 50 gets checked regularly for prostate cancer. Certainly the United States president, especially one under close surveillance for age-related illnesses, and he gets examined rigorously for this kind of stuff all the time. Surely he would have found this out before it seeped into his bones. And was there treatment withheld from the president? There needs to be questions asked, and there needs to be answers provided by Jill Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, whoever was working in the West Wing. They need to go before a committee and answer questions. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, he's an oncologist and a Democrat policymaker. He told Joe Scarborough on MSNBC that Biden certainly had the disease for several years, and he did not develop this in the last 100 to 200 days. He had it while he was president. And he probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. And I don't think that there's any disagreement about that. That's not my words. That's Ezekiel Emanuel, who's a Democrat, by the way, and an oncologist. So take his word, not mine. And if this were true, that he had it in 2021, think about this. Who was running the country at the time? He was obviously a potato, sleeping away, Lepron. I don't know if he was taking that. but he was not fit for office. And obviously somebody was running the country, and we, the American people, deserve to know who that somebody was. And this is what I mean by the election was stolen from you. You voted for Joe Biden, but Joe Biden didn't actually serve a single day while he was president. And he wasn't capable of running things, and you deserve to know who was running things, and you should be really afford back those 4 years because they lied to you. You voted in Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't the president. He couldn't be. He was battling cancer, stage 4 cancer. It's unclear if this announcement has anything to do with the timing of this, to get him some sympathy before these books came out about his cognitive health and him being the leader of the free world. But you do the math, most likely. I mean, this was just right after the audio was released with him and Tur, where Robert Tur, he was saying that he was an elderly man and capable of answering for his crimes because he had a memory problem, his crimes of classified documents and not stowing them away properly. The same thing they went after Donald Trump for, by the way. But nonetheless, I do wish him a speedy recovery, although he may or may not have lied to the American people about this for years at this point, him having prostate cancer and him not being well. I'm willing to forgive him on them and just say, wish you a speedy recovery, Joe. All right, I got to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about Elon Musk next because he attacked Bill Gates, actually, and he mentioned Bill Gates' ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which is kind of hilarious and incredible. I'll be right back. Hey, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We are going to get to Elon Musk here, and maybe we'll get to Marco Rubio going scorched earth, defending this MAGA agenda. The thing that they'll talk about is you're cutting the programs. Hillary Clinton there, she talked about cutting Head Start. Look, I've actually gone into some of these daycares, the Head Start daycare. Full disclosure, my mom is fostering a child, and I mean, she's older, my mother, and she's fostering this child. And Head Start, it's something that DCFS suggested. Don't know if she's going to take him back, but we'll have to see, because he actually got sick. It was real sad, from the daycare, probably because, yeah, there's a ton of kids at this daycare, right? So there's going to be a ton of children at daycare, and they're going to get sick naturally, and that's just what happens. That's the name of the game when you take kids to daycare. But anyway, I've gone into these places, some of the saddest places I've ever seen. You know, not to say that the people running these programs are not good people. They're all very tremendous, admirable people, especially considering they're probably getting paid pennies to do this, while the people at the top, the administrators who facilitate these types of programs, they're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. So really, really tragic that we have convinced women that it's better to work your life away and not raise your children. It's tragic. It's terrible. And I'm not even saying women. I'm saying women or men, because look, it's 2025. A man can stay home with the kid, or a woman can go work. I don't really care. But if you were to ask men and women in a household with children, hey, would you prefer a single income household over another one? Yes, they're going to say that. So Elon Musk, he's going after Bill Gates here, and we're going to get to the clip, of course, where he says that Gates doesn't care about children. He has ties to very close with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so you can sit there and say the kids, they need these programs, and you're going to take the food, you're going to starve children and kill children by cutting these programs. No, we're going to give more money to the American people by cutting these programs, because we're not going to tax them for these programs that are subpar at best. I've gone into these programs. Into Head Start facilities. It's nothing special. It's quite literally daycare, okay? And they're watching tons of children, lots of children. They're all sick, and they wind up getting sick all of the time. And if you ask families, hey, do you want that? Or do you want this? the single income household, do you want to raise your kids yourself? They're going to go for option B every single time. Wow. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. The children, the Head Start. And that's what Hillary Clinton was crying about. We covered that a couple of weeks ago. Look, Head Start, there's an administrative bloat there. There's people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary to administer these types of programs. The people at the bottom who are in these Head Start facilities, they're not actually getting paid what they're worth, right? Because they're watching children, your children. And these are kind of subpar programs at best. They're like daycares for kids, and they just want to get them in public school sooner at the age of newborn. Okay. And that's what these programs are all about. And the money, I think the Head Start program here in Illinois had gotten like $70 million in tax dollars. So, I mean, this is substantially funded by the taxpayer. And all Elon Musk is doing with Doge is he's cutting a lot of these programs because guess what? If we cut these programs, we're going to give the money back to the parents, and the parents can say, hey, we have money now. We're not taxed $20,000. I'm making $60,000. I was taxed $20,000 on my income. So ultimately I make $40,000. So I need to supplement that income, and we need to have a dual income household. If you ask people, you want to have a dual income household, or would you prefer one? Would you prefer to raise your kids and be with them from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.? Because think about that for a second. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day, you're without your kids. And the government wants to do this because they think that they know what's best through these programs like Head Start. And Elon Musk, he calls out Bill Gates for his latest attacks on Doge, because Doge has been cutting some of these programs. And Bill Gates, he's very close with Jeffrey Epstein. And Elon Musk calls him out for that. And Musk said, yeah, he didn't care about the kids. He was very close with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so don't sit here and lecture me on children and how I'm literally killing children as a result of my cuts at Doge. Don't sit here and lecture me, because we know exactly who you are, Bill Gates. You don't care about the kids. You don't care about them. You do not care about the children. You were hanging out with a pedophile, accused of all of these heinous crimes. We're going to get to this here in just a second, but we're also going to get to Marco Rubio in the 7 o'clock hour, because Marco Rubio, this was masterclass what he did here. He shut them down. He defended the MAGA agenda of making these cuts to these programs, putting more money in your pocket, giving you the child tax credits, encouraging you to have children, so that way you can take care of your children, and that we don't steal your money from you and administer programs that we think are best. We want to give you autonomy as the parent. So Marco Rubio, he went scorched earth defending the MAGA agenda, and I'm going to be right back with that here next. Hey, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel today. So do appreciate you tuning in. Now, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, very close to Jeffrey Epstein. And like I said, these programs that Doge is cutting, we're talking a lot of this is just administrative bloat. That Hillary Clinton clip, she goes, he's cutting Medicaid, he's cutting Medicare. No, not true. He's cutting the abuse and fraud within those systems, so that way the people who need those services, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, the people who are supposed to receive those services, get those services and get that money. So that's what we're talking about here. It's just cutting the bloat out of these programs. And, if you were to just take 5 minutes and look up some of these nonprofits who have been getting these, Head Start is a perfect example. They've been getting, this is just one, this is the Chicago-based Head Start. Okay, now there's multiple around the entire nation Head Start facilities. It's Start Early. They're the ones who provide or offer those programs. And it's a nonprofit organization that has received $70 million. Just the Chicago, like the one based out of Chicago, we're not talking about billions to the parent or in total, because Start Early is like affiliated with all of the other Start Earlys. they're not. It's just wild when you follow the money. But if you were to just follow the money a little bit, and I'm not saying go down crazy rabbit holes like I do sometimes, but just kind of look at the surface level, just look at some of their tax filings, right? Because they're publicly available nonprofit organizations, they're publicly available. Now, the thing about that is you don't know how much money they're getting via the government, but the only reason why I got this $70 million number was because they were audited. Head Start, this facility, this nonprofit organization was audited because of the inadequate internal controls or something like that. So they were audited. So you are able to see some of these numbers of what went in from the government, because on their tax filings, it'll show you this is the revenue that was pulled, and that's a combination of, and it's called public support. So that's a combination of taxation, the taxpayers, but it's also, private contributions. And they're not required to lay out who their private contributors are, anything like that. So, or how much came in from each, it's all just one kitty that's reported. But because of the audit, we can kind of see this. And, after a certain amount of years, the budget, right, you can see budget line items dedicated to these nonprofit organizations or programs like this. It's been to the tune of billions nationwide for Head Start programs specifically. But at a state level, 70 million, according to this according to this audit, due to internal or inadequate internal controls, 70 million from the taxpayers to Head Start, to start early to facilitate this program. And I get it, like they might do other things, and that $70 million, I don't know if it all went to Head Start, but they got $70 million. And of that, you've got somebody there making, I think it was like 300 something thousand dollars, something crazy like that. An administrator or somebody who's paid by, an affiliate nonprofit organization. But you've got all these executive directors of these nonprofit organizations who are making, $300,000 a year. That's wild. And you see why they're so upset about this. Okay. That's why they're upset. It's about the money. Okay. Because they don't want to go actually out and get a real job because they're too good for the manufacturing jobs. They're too good for creating a product and selling it. They're too good for it. They don't want to do any of that. They want to be virtue signaling asshats who say, oh, look at me. I'm doing something great for the community and I'm getting paid for it. I'm getting paid very handsomely for it, and they want to virtue signal and say, look at how important I am. And it's really just a narcissistic complex that these individuals got in these nonprofit organizations, these executive directors of these nonprofits who have taxpayer dollars funneled to them. We're paying for them to virtue signal, because really the programs that they administer, if you talk to people who utilize government programs, just talk to somebody who's going to fight the VA. The VA does great many things. I'm not in any way, but there's been issues with the VA, and talk to a veteran who has to deal with government programs to get their services that they need. It's a headache, and at best, it's like subpar. And just imagine if we were to stop taxation for these types of programs, these subpar programs. If we were to stop that, we'd keep the money in the pocket. So you're making $60,000 a year, the government takes $20,000. We put that $20,000 back right into your pocket. You can do it yourself. You can go find the food. You can go find the mental health services. You can go do it yourself. And yeah, this is not rocket science. It's just we're fundamentally different. Democrats, or not even Democrats at this point. There are two just fundamentally different people in this country. One who says, hey, leave it up to the individual. And then there's the people who say, no, let us take care of it because we know what's best. And we want to be virtue signaling assholes who never do anything in their lives. All right. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Yes, The View claimed with a straight face that Joe Biden could never lie about his cancer diagnosis. Yeah, they never would lie about that sort of thing. Although a doctor, who's a Democrat policymaker, by the way, and an oncologist, Ezekiel Emanuel told Joe Scarborough on MSNBC that, yeah, Joe Biden certainly had the disease for more than several years, because you don't just develop aggressive stage 4 prostate cancer within 100 days, 200 days. He had it while he was president, and he probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. And you were duped. You voted for Joe Biden. Sure, let's say he won the 2020 election. He didn't. But sure, let's say that you were duped. You were lied to. You said that Joe Biden was going to be president. That guy wasn't president a single minute when he took office, okay? Who was running the country? We took a break, and I want to get to Elon Musk here. We talked about Hillary Clinton, the Head Start program, and it's a big scam, really, these programs that Elon Musk is cutting. And we're not getting rid of Medicaid, Medicare, these essential programs that people actually need. We're getting rid of the administrative bloat. For example, Hillary Clinton, she brought up Head Start. The amount of money that Head Start gets, or the nonprofits that offer the Head Start program to facilitate these types of programs, the money that they get is exorbitant, to say the very least. And what they're doing with that money is not actually putting out a top tier program. They're actually paying the administrators who facilitate these programs very handsome salaries. We're talking $300,000 a year. So no, we're not doing that. We're not going to allow these people to not work in the private sector. We're not going to allow these people to open up a nonprofit for whatever cause, to virtue signal, just because they don't want to get a real job and make something that people want and sell something that people want and create things. They would rather virtue signal and get paid to virtue signal for these subpar programs. Just talk to anybody who has to deal with a government program. Talk to a veteran who has to deal with the VA. I'm just saying, just talk to a veteran who has to deal with any kind of government services. Talk to anybody who has to try to obtain government services. It's a headache. It's a hassle. People don't know how to do it. These programs are subpar at best. So Elon Musk, he calls out Bill Gates for being very close with Jeffrey Epstein. It's very bizarre how he pretends really to be all in it for the kids, right? And they're saying that Elon Musk, Donald Trump, they're taking the food right out of the kids' mouths because they're cutting some of these programs. Like a lot of these programs, if they're not actually good programs and they're just facades for people to have these hefty salaries, yeah, we're getting rid of those. Sorry. Like, go pretend to be, this virtue, but not on the taxpayer dime. Okay, so, and we're also cutting the administrative bloat or the bloat and the abuse within these Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, some of these more essential type programs. We're going to cut out the bloat, so that way people who actually need these programs get an ample amount of money and funds, and get the most out of that service. So here's Elon Musk talking about Bill Gates. He completely bodied Bill Gates with this statement. Take a listen. Here we go.
I do want to ask you about US aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already.
That's
I wondered,
also,
and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those, and he spent a lot. I do want to ask.
I mean, that was just masterclass from Elon Musk. Okay. Question of the day: would you allow Bill Gates to babysit your kids? Text it 309-451-9299. Comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. I'm live there. Cities 92.9 Conservative Cat. Would you allow Bill Gates to babysit your kids? No? Didn't think so. Neither would Elon Musk. He said, I wouldn't let Bill Gates watch my kids. And he talks about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And actions speak louder than words, bucko. Bill Gates. 2 weeks ago, Bill Gates, he accused Musk of killing kids because Elon Musk, through Doge, is making the government more efficient. Our taxpayer dollars actually work for us, and we're not going to just throw away our taxpayer dollars to people who want to pretend that they're doing something special. Okay, that's what these nonprofit organizations do. Specifically, Hillary Clinton, she brought up Head Start. I just happen to know the numbers because there was an audit done because of inadequate controls. $70 million just to the Chicago Start Early, which is a nonprofit organization that offers these programs like Head Start. They got $70 million in taxpayer funds, and they pay people who are affiliated with Head Start $300,000. They pay executive directors. They pay all these administrators these bloated salaries. And it's like, wait a second. I thought that we were going to stretch every single dollar for the kids. I thought that this program was for the kids and to teach the kids. No, it's glorified. It's daycare, and they want to take the kids earlier and put them in public school as soon as they come out of the womb. So here's Bill Gates accusing Elon Musk of killing kids because he's making the government more efficient, and that Doge is responsible for taking the lives of 2 million people. Okay, whatever you say, Bill Gates, give me a break.
Now with these cuts, if they're not reversed, we'll go to over 6 million dying. So instead of going down, we'll go back up.
Wow. So it's a difference of 2 million lives.
Absolutely. Now with these cuts, if they're not reversed, we'll go to over 6 million dying. So instead of going down, we'll go back up.
It's okay. So he literally says 2 billion people are going to die because of these cuts. No, what's really happening is that Bill Gates' little acolytes within these nonprofit organizations, these non-government organizations, what's really happening is his little acolytes who serve as administrators and directors. There's like several hundred directors for this nonprofit organization, and his acolytes aren't getting paid these bloated salaries on the taxpayer dime. Okay, a bunch of gobbledygook. Gates said there. Yeah, I don't need an expert to tell me that what a goober Gates is. Bill Gates, he's calling out his fellow, according to CNN, calling out his fellow tech billionaire Elon Musk over cuts that he made to the U.S. government spending under his watch through the Department of Government Efficiency, saying that gutting of the U.S. Agency for International Development would lead to millions of deaths around the world. Quote, here's what Bill Gates said when Elon Musk went into government. If his thing was really about efficiency or using AI, of course, we need to make the government more efficient. If that's what it had been, it would have been praiseworthy. It's a praiseworthy thing to put his time and expertise into. He said in an interview on CNN with Reid, the fact that it turned into slashing these people, I didn't expect that. Some of that should be put back in place. Slashing these people. So what he's talking about there, and Bill Gates just admitted it with his mouth, slashing these people, it means taking the administrative bloat out of these programs that we were funding overseas to trans the mice, to put on drag shows in Guatemala, I don't know. And it was a nonprofit organization, and somebody was getting paid $300,000 to do it. That's what he's talking about when he's saying slashing these people. Some of those people need to be put back in place. Yeah, because they're your acolytes, and then they contribute back to your campaign. So it's all a money laundering thing for the Democrat Party. So that way they can, or to contribute to politicians Bill Gates likes. Okay, or Bill Gates wants to be elected so that way he can get kickbacks and he can continue to operate his billions. I'm sure he's billionaire. Yeah, billionaire. So he can continue to operate his billionaire enterprise without being held accountable. So Gates added that the world is in a global health emergency because of the spending cuts, health programs by the U.S. and European governments. The full interview CNN, he was talking about this global health emergency, I guess, if we cut things from the USAID program, which is just stupid. There's zero evidence to suggest that we're in a global health emergency just because we cut some programs that we really didn't need. We didn't need to trans the mice. What? Because we don't trans the mice over in Guatemala. I don't know, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we pay Susan to do it and to facilitate this program because we don't do that. Oh no, global health emergency. It's just fear mongering. I mean, by an unelected billionaire who's not a scientist, there's no evidence to suggest that the Gates Foundation has saved lives. So, I mean, unless there is, text me if you can find some 309-451-9299. I don't think that there's evidence that the Gates Foundation has saved lives, and he claims to be all in it for the kids, and that the kids are going to starve. And he's out there he's having friendships with the people who are accused of committing some of the worst crimes against minors. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, don't give me a lecture on the welfare of children, my guy. You had a friendship with a guy who's committing some of the worst crimes against minors or was accused of it. So again, actions speak louder than words. We know who he's fighting for. He's fighting for his acolytes to continue to be paid to do these bogus virtue signaling programs that nobody really needs. And the reason why he wants to pay those people is so that they turn around and contribute to the campaigns of politicians he likes. Period. That doesn't care about the world's poorest children. Give me a break. It's Bill Gates. All right, I gotta take a quick break, but we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, he blasted Chris Van Hollen. He's a senator, and it was during a Senate hearing. I think it is yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And, Senator Chris Van Hollen, he was probably overseas kicking back some cold ones with illegal immigrant gang members. Of course, he was one of the senators who said, I'm going to go to El Salvador and bring Gilmore back. So he's back after, kicking some cold ones with an MS-13 gang member. But this is a prime example as to why I really think that Marco Rubio is one of the best Trump appointees. Now, there have been some disappointments. I will say Pam Bondi is a disappointment. Kash Patel is a disappointment. There's been disappointments in this administration. I expected some arrests for January 6th for locking people up. I want James Comey to be arrested for calling for the assassination of the president. Pam Bondi has yet to deliver. I'm disappointed with I like Marco Rubio and the border czar Tom Homan. I like him. And that's about it. No, I like a lot of Trump's appointees. Tom Homan by far is my favorite, and Marco Rubio is up there. Pete Hegseth also really good. RFK Jr. probably up there. If I had to rank them, okay, I'll rank them. RFK Jr. and then it goes Tom Homan. I don't know. It's a tie between Tom Homan and RFK Jr. and then Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth, like top four appointees. I got to take a quick break, but we're going to be back. Hey, don't forget to go to Jack's Cafe today. I'm going to be there in just an hour or so. So get there. We're having pancakes, 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, and a drink, $12, 2 biscuits and gravies, 2 eggs, and a drink for $12 at Jack's Cafe when we're going to register you to try to win. Hey, sign me up. That's an amazing Wednesday morning. Sign me up. You get a potential of your dream vacation, and you get hot breakfast, cold drinks. That's a perfect Wednesday morning. So come on out, share a cup of coffee with me. It'll be great at Jack's Cafe in Leroy today. I'll be right back. We're going to get to Marco Rubio here next on Conservative Cat. Oh boy. So there is this clip from Marco Rubio that I'm actually just going to I just absolutely love Marco Rubio. He's really, and I was nervous about Marco Rubio, and a lot of conservatives were. We all thought that, and really the truth is that he was just anti-Trump there in the beginning for the first few months of 2016. and occasionally expressed his views against a MAGA influencer, okay, and people labeled him neocon and globalist. I really don't think so. I think that he's done a fantastic job as the Secretary of State. And the truth is, he and J.D. Vance, they are masterclass at shutting down both the Democratic Party and the corporate media. I repeat myself, though, the same thing. Few are very good at this. And and I think that Trump deemed this ticket pretty early on for 2028. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio. I think that's going to be the 2028 ticket. And I think that Trump knew this going in, that that would be a natural successor to him. And I'm pretty excited for our 2028 Vance Rubio ticket. So we're going to talk about Marco Rubio, but I also want to jump back to the Gates Foundation. Like I said, I don't think that they've saved any lives. The Gates Foundation, Bill Gates is a billionaire who's interested in getting these people paid in these nonprofit organizations who say they're doing things, but they're not really doing anything, and they're paying people these exorbitant salaries, and it doesn't take much work at all. It really doesn't to follow this money. All you have to do is do a simple tax filing search on one of these nonprofit organizations, and you'll see their salaries listed out because they have to report them. And that's the kicker to this whole thing as well, is nonprofit organizations, they're not publicly available. Like, information is kind of hard to get. But if they're making over $100,000, I think, within these nonprofit organizations, they have to report it on their tax filings, and they do. So they're operating kind of out in the open, but they're kind of not, because like there's also all these other people who work for this nonprofit, and they're probably getting paid $99,000 a year or something like that, $80,000 a year, but they don't have to report that on their tax filing. But there are administrators, executive directors of these nonprofit organizations who are lining their pockets with your tax dollars. I told you about the Head Start program. I've walked into these places. You know, my mom, she's fostering a child. DCFS recommends, you take them to Head Start, and why not, right? It's my tax dollars are paying for it. So you go and you find out, wow, this is like not anything special. And then you look into the money, right? I mean, that's what kicked the story off. I had done a deep dive on Head Start, and really it was just because I had went into one of these, and not to disparage the workers. Like, there's some people who are really good people who are in there, and they're getting paid pennies. They're getting paid $10 an hour to do the actual work. The people who are getting paid the exorbitant salaries probably never stepped foot inside of these actual facilities who house the children. But I walked in, saddest thing I've ever seen. All of these women who aren't with their children at such a crucial age. At that age, Head Start, that really what it is, it's public school. And Head Start is just getting them earlier into the public school system. And it's just glorified daycare. Or they say it's, we're going to teach the kids at that age. You can't teach them much of anything. They just need to mimic their parents and to see their parents' faces. That's pretty much it. And to build a bond with somebody at that age, that's about it. That's all they can do at that age. So, number one, it's literally just daycare. You're not teaching them anything at that age because they're quite literally babies and they can't comprehend. They're not developed. Their brains aren't developed, and it's really a crucial time for their parents to be with them. And I looked this up. This is actually true. There's a lot of mirrors on baby toys, or like they're bassinets. I don't know what you call them, but there's mirrors because the baby kind of looks like their mom and dad, and it's comforting for them to look at their own faces, and that's really sad when you look at that. And then we're putting them in these daycares where their mom and dad are nowhere to be found, and they're uncomfortable and they need their mom and dad. They need to see their faces as a sign of comfort. It's like a biological thing where if I look up at my mom and dad, I'm comforted. So these mirrors on baby toys, they're actually purposeful in trying to comfort children. So at that age, it doesn't really matter with the Head Start. They're not learning anything at that age. It's not like they're teaching them anything. So it's daycare, taxpayer funded daycare. And when you look at the numbers, it's not that hard. When you look up their tax filings, you'll see all of the bloated salaries. I mean, I've looked this up. You've got, in that nonprofit organization that administers those types of programs, people making hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. And those are the same people who turn around then, if they're making $300,000, okay, let's just check this out, $300,000, okay, they'll contribute that money. Like that nonprofit will then turn around and contribute that money, and that individual will contribute that money to politicians in their area that they prefer. And Bill Gates wants a certain type of politician, one that won't push back against him and will let him get away with anything. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Gat Cities 92.9. Find me at Jack's Cafe in just about an hour in Leroy. I'll be there with a cup of coffee. Their coffee's bold. They've got breakfast specials, 2 eggs, 2 pancakes, and a drink for just $12. And we're going to sign you up for a Caribbean cruise from Expedia Cruises. Big shout out to Greg from Expedia Cruises. They're going to help you every step of the way. By the way, if you're our one lucky local winner, by the way. They're going to help you. It's a Caribbean cruise because the Bahamas. Sails out of Miami. It's the best giveaway we've ever done. I'll say that for sure. This is the best Cities 92.9 giveaway is giving away this cruise. You got to be 21 years of age to register. We're drawing 2 finalists, so get there early. 9:30 is our first drawing. You're going to qualify for a spot at our grand prize giveaway in June at the Smash House Tavern. So I wanted to get to this. This is yesterday's Senate hearing. Okay, this is Marco Rubio versus Chris Van Hollen, who's probably, just getting back from his trip to El Salvador where he was slinging back some daiquiris or some cold ones with an MS-13 gang member. So he's back. No, I don't know what they did, but he wanted to go get Gilmar Abrego Garcia back. The guy who had MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. So Marco Rubio, top tier Trump appointee, by the way. And I slept on Marco Rubio. I'm not going to lie. I called him a neocon. I thought that he was a neocon globalist. I really did, because he was anti-Trump for the longest time in 2016. And I was not very trustworthy of Marco Rubio, but I'll admit it. He has shown up for the American people seriously. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and enjoy this next couple of minutes, because what Marco Rubio does here is just masterclass. Here we go.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may say.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's
your
just a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You
Mr.
may.
Chairman?
I didn't ask.
Senator,
questions.
please let the secretary.
I'd be happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I
with
raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose
railing
to
on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my time
suspend,
that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to see
Chairman,
who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments
Senator,
like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You've had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the
Senator,
United States because
well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? there is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts or frankly with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas. And it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these cases, the factors are different.
Senator,
the bottom line is if you're coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you have a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we will
people
revoke
living in
it.
the United
And
States?
we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a bunch of lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as that.
policy of the United States.
I want to do more. I hope we can find more of these people.
Pathetic, Mr.
In fact,
Secretary.
the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was. And I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer
All right,
when you lock up people like Ms. Ostork, Ms. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much.
Okay. So that was probably the best 4 minutes of a clip I've ever played on this show. It was total masterclass, and to the point of Marco Rubio's deportation of college students here on visas. They terrorize other students on college campuses, and then they brag about it, and then they brag about wanting to destroy America, and they're here on visas. This is a privilege. It's not a right. You don't have a right to a visa. And he's talking about, of course, this Chris Van Hollen. He's talking about this college student. His name was Muhammad Khalil. And yeah, we took away his green card because he said, hey, I'm here in the United States and I want a student visa and then I'm going to get a green card. But actually, I'm not going to disclose to you that I'm a supporter of Hamas, the murderous, barbaric group that kidnaps children, rapes teenage girls, takes hostages, and then allows them to die in captivity and doesn't return live bodies. We return more dead bodies than we do live bodies. Yeah, that Hamas, yeah, I'm a supporter of that, and I intend to come to your country and rile up anti-Jewish students on your campuses, conduct anti-Semitic activities, and I intend to shut your universities down. Yeah, they lie when they apply to their visas. They don't say any of that. And if we find out that they're doing that when they apply for their visas, we should revoke those and deny their visas and revoke them. Because they lied to us. They didn't say that they were a Hamas supporter. They said that they wanted to come to the country. They wanted to go to school, not disrupt and be a terrorist. I mean, I'm going to call what these people are. They're terrorists in our college campuses. And these poor kids, they pay money to go to school, and they can't even go to school because there's a bunch of lunatics who are riling up all kinds of anti-Jewish students to conduct anti-Semitic activities. And we just shouldn't have it. So, Marco Rubio, surprised. I was surprised to see that Trump picked him as the Secretary of State. Truth is, I didn't think that Rubio was going to be any good. I thought that he was going to be a neocon, a globalist. I told you on this show that I was kind of nervous about it. He turned out to be one of the best appointees Donald Trump has. Pam Bondi, disappointment. Kash Patel, disappointment. But I stand corrected. I think that Marco Rubio is a top-tier appointee, and I do believe that he and J.D. Vance are going to be the ticket in 2028. And I think that Donald Trump deemed this ticket as the natural successor. because they both have this amazing ability to communicate what we believe and why we believe it. And they both battle the Democrat Party and the corporate media, and they do it so well. They battle it out with these people, and there's very few people who can do what Marco Rubio just did, and one of those few is JD Vance, and I think they're going to be the ticket in 2028. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat, Cities 92.9. Yeah, I don't know, Kathy. I really did. This is Kathy Schmidt. She's my bestie. Hey, Kathy, how you doing this morning? Yeah, Marco rocks. I'm not going to lie. I was really nervous about Marco Rubio. There are people within Trump's administration that I was nervous about, and the people I was most nervous about, they actually turned out being the best ones. Marco Rubio was anti-Trump for multiple months in 2016, for a good portion of 2016. Eventually came around to Make America Great Again. He shut down a lot of, MAGA influencers, and he didn't like Donald Trump in the beginning. Neither did Pete Hegseth, I'm pretty sure, RFK Jr., right? The people who shockingly, like all of these Trump appointees who weren't MAGA from the beginning actually turned out to be like the best. So you have RFK Jr., top tier. I love Tom Homan. Tom Homan is doing a great job as the border czar, unlike Kamala Harris. Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, JD Vance. JD Vance was anti-Trump in the beginning as well. These are master class. They're so good at destroying the Democrat Party and the corporate media. When we come back, there's so much I want to get to this morning. Be sure to come out to Expedia Crew, or come out to Jack's in Leroy today. I don't know if you're local. Central Illinois. I'm going to be there. There's breakfast specials, 2 eggs, 2 pancakes, and a cup of coffee for $12. That's pretty great. We are going to get back to the show, though. When we come back for our radio friends, I do want to play another Marco Rubio clip. I think I'm going to do one more clip of Marco Rubio, just because I'm just like on a Marco Rubio kick this morning. I don't know why. He's just really good. I think that he's great. So Marco Rubio, he of course went scorched earth for the MAGA agenda. And like I said, these nonprofit organizations, he was talking about, the castration of children in some country or somewhere, and the castration, or the circumcision, sorry, not castration, the circumcision of children in some other country. Like, why the hell? That's not going to advance anything we're doing here in America. That's not going to help Americans out. We're circumcising children in some foreign land somewhere, and we're doing that with our taxpayer dollars. And Marco Rubio said, yeah, I'm supportive of the cuts to USAID, Elon Musk's cuts, because guess what? We're paying. So I know I don't know the specifics, but I know what happens. These nonprofit organizations, they open up in all kinds of different countries, corners of the world, and they say, oh, we're going to do this cause. And ultimately, this cause, it sounds noble. It sounds really, really cool. It's like one of those millennial trendy burger joints, right? Where you get like a $40 burger and the ceilings are black. There's these nice bar stools, and the burger actually is kind of subpar. I would rather go to a diner and pay $5 for the same exact burger and get some fries with it, So that's what we're talking about here. These are trendy, virtue signaling type nonprofit organizations that we've doled out millions, billions of dollars to, these nonprofit organizations. And Becky, she serves as an executive director for this nonprofit organization, collects a handsome salary of $300,000 plus. And, the kids aren't actually getting that money. It's really just so Becky can, have this bloated salary, which then she turns around and donates to ex-politician who is favorable to billionaires like Bill Gates, or corporate elites like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, right? So that's what this is all about. Marco Rubio, he destroys Hillary Clinton's running mate, Tim Kaine, if you guys remember him. He destroys them him over this whole skin color thing. So the South African thing, the white South Africans who were refugees and they actually came to the country and sought asylum because they were being persecuted. Their houses were being burnt down because of the color of their skin in South Africa. And they were here on asylum, and I guess Tim Kaine took issue with that. Senator Tim Kaine looked like he was about ready to burst a blood vessel in his face, in his eyeball, after Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested that he was being racist for saying that the white South Africans shouldn't have sought asylum here. So we're going to play this clip, one more clip of Marco Rubio, just because I'm on a Marco Rubio kick. I'm like, it's very rare. Well, I wouldn't say rare. It's actually quite common for me where I will change a position. Well, definitely when there's new evidence that presents itself, I'll change my position. But I have convictions, okay? There has to be new evidence that presents itself for me to change my convictions. And I'm going to say it, Marco Rubio, it changed my opinion on him completely. I was totally different in 2022. My stance on Marco Rubio, I thought he was a globalist neocon. But I don't know if he's changed or what, but he is doing a really great job of saying what needs to be said to these elitists, to specifically Senator Tim Kaine, who is the running mate of Hillary Clinton, by the way. He points fingers at the world and says that we're racist, but he's actually probably the guiltiest of that. So we're going to get to this clip. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Here we go. Wowza! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. So do appreciate you being here. Again, Jackson Leroy, Jack's Cafe in Leroy. They've got 2 eggs, 2 biscuits, and gravy, and a cup of coffee. $12. I'll be out there registering you for a deluxe Caribbean cruise brought to you by Expedia Cruises. Come on out and say hello. I'll be there until 11 today. Have a cup of coffee. Now, Senator Tim Kaine, who ran with Hillary Clinton, accused Marco Rubio of prioritizing one race over another, solely because these South African refugees have a skin color that Kaine doesn't approve of. So this has been a thing on the left. They're upset that the South Africans were granted asylum because their houses were being burnt down because their skin color is white and happens to be white, and they were granted asylum here in the United States. And for some odd reason, the left is very upset about that. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he had to say the quiet part out loud here. Take a listen.
But I'm going to ask you, what, so a well-justified fear of persecution?
Yeah, they thought that their farms were being burned down and they would be killed. I think that's a pretty good justification for wanting to come. They're afraid for their lives.
And should it be applied in an even-handed way? That's an easy.
No, our foreign policy doesn't require even-handedness. It requires prioritizing the interests of the United States.
The phrase says you are entitled to entrance as a refugee if you demonstrate a well-justified fear of persecution.
No, you're not entitled.
So
you're
can
allowed.
you have a different standard based upon the color of somebody's skin? Would that be acceptable?
Well, I'm not the one arguing that. Apparently, you are, because you don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming.
Say that would be unacceptable.
Well, no, I would say that the United States,
a very easy thing.
The United States has a right to pick and choose who they allow into the United States,
even based on the color of somebody's skin.
No one's. You're the one that's talking about the color of their skin, not me. These
are
people whose farms were being burned down and they were killed because of the color of their skin.
Well,
Well, you've demonstrated enough because you think anyone should be allowed into this country for any reason because they met a certain criteria.
Who has said that?
We are going to prioritize people that come into our country on the basis of what's in the interest of this country. That's a small number of people that are coming.
But you said this weekend that.
But in other cases, it's harder to vet. In other cases, it's more difficult. And by the way, the United States admits people every year.
Okay, so that's one clip that I wanted to share with you. But the fact is that he blames Rubio for obsessing over race when he's not the one talking about it. But Rubio's not talking about race. Tim Kaine is the one who's talking about race. And it just shows you a lack of self-awareness that the leftists tend to suffer from. He's the one who brought up the race of the South Africans that were granted asylum. He's the one who's bringing that up. The United States has a right to, on a selective basis, grant refugees or asylums to certain people. They have a right to do that. And they were selective in this, not on the basis of race. They were just selective because they were afraid for their lives. And that's what the refugees seeking asylum, that's what that's there for. If your farms are being burnt down because of your skin color, you're being persecuted in your country because of your skin color, then yes, you're going to be granted asylum. Now, this is a different clip, but same Senate hearing. There was a Senate hearing, and I'm on a Marco Rubio kick this morning because he's just so good. Take a listen.
But I'm going to ask you, what, so a well-justified fear of persecution?
Yeah, they thought that their
mean-
farms
you
were
don't
being
think
burned
that
down and they
means
would be killed.
anything?
I think that's a pretty good justification for wanting to come. They're
Okay.
afraid.
I think that's the same one. Sorry, I played the same clip. I don't think I've got another one on me right now. Yeah, I don't have the other one on me right now, but essentially the Democrat senator in this other clip that I had pulled, Tim Kaine, asked about the South African refugees, and he says, can you have a different standard based upon the color of somebody's skin? Or do you have a different standard based on the color of somebody's skin and whether or not you grant them asylum? And he says, look, I'm not the one arguing that, Marco Rubio. He says, you are. And, he said the quiet part out loud. They are upset that these South Africans were white. Period. That's what this is all about. And the left, they hate the refugees because they're white. Okay, and I'll say the quiet part out loud. And they're the racist ones, and they're contributing to a racist culture that actually made these people leave their home country in the first place. These Democrats and Senator Tim Kaine, they're contributing to a racist culture that ultimately led these people to flee their home country to come to the United States. The fact that the left wants to point fingers and blame the Trump administration for being racist is a lack of self-awareness I didn't think was possible. All right. Really quick, I want to read this from Fox News. According to Fox News, the spat between Marco Rubio and Tim Kaine was prompted after the United States last week welcomed dozens of white South African refugees who the State Department said were victims of government-sponsored racial discrimination in their homeland. Their arrival comes as the administration suspended most refugee resettlement programs. Can you have a different standard based on the color of race or based on the color of somebody's skin? Would that be acceptable? That's what Kaine said before Rubio shot back, and he said, I'm not arguing that. Apparently you are, because you don't like the fact that they're white, and that's why they're coming. It's because they're white and they're being racially discriminated against in their homeland. This is government-sponsored racial discrimination. Their farms are being burned down. Their homes are being burned down. And it's all because their skin isn't dark enough. And people like Kaine have proven to be no better than the same government persecuting those refugees in South Africa who came and sought asylum here. Kaine is no better than that government because he's upset that they're here. He's upset that they came and sought asylum. And Kaine said, quote, I'm asking you to say that would be unacceptable and would seem to be the very easy thing to say, that it would be unacceptable to do it on the basis of color of the person's skin granting asylum. And Rubio said the United States has the right to pick and allow who is granted into the United States. And he said, based on the color of somebody's skin. And he says, again, look, you're the one who's saying it's the skin. I'm not saying it's the skin, the color of the piece. These people had farms that were burned down and they were killed because of the color of their skin. So we granted that. So the left, they do realize, the left does realize that the logic is the same here, right? They hate these refugees because they're white, and they're the refugees. They are refugees because they are white. So they were granted asylum because of their skin color, because they were racially discriminated against. That's exactly why they came to this country and sought asylum, is because they were being killed for the color of their skin. So yes, it had something to do with the color of their skin. These people are just a joke. Senator Tim Kaine, that was Hillary Clinton's running mate, by the way. All right, I got to take a quick break. Come back after the break. I'm going to be at Jack's in Leroy. You guys are going to want to head on out there. There is a breakfast special, 2 eggs, 2 biscuits, gravy, and a cup of coffee for $12. I'll be right back. All right, folks. I have actually got a recording set up for our radio friends. It was about a Naperville community school where there was a track athlete who was racing against females. It was a junior high student, and you guys are going to want to tune in for that on 92.9 if you want to dial in. But we'll be back for the stream tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. I appreciate you being here. Bye-bye. Love you so much.